Welcome to the Cash Flow Chronicles. I'm your host, Jonny and the founder of Catani Capital Group. For the last 2 years, I've been studying alternative assets and now help solve the problem of creating passive cash flow for creators, influencers, and busy professionals by bringing you 5 episodes a week of easy to understand education in the world of passive investing. What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Welcome to another episode of Friday Follow-Up here on the Cash Flow Chronicles podcast. I am your host, Jonny Catani, and we have made it through another week. I hope you had a great week. We are cruising right along into February here, and the year is already off to a hot start. I know a lot of people in the industry are already doing big deals. Relatively speaking, transaction volume is down. Having a lot of conversations with operators here locally in Salt Lake City, as well as across the country, and a little bit of a stagnant market currently, but we'll get to that. I'm very excited for today's episode. Going to be doing something a little bit different in that I'm actually going to go back to the beginning. I don't think I've ever told my full story here. And it's not going to be long. It's going to be the abridged version because we are going to be using this for social media. By we, I mean me. I'm going to be using this for social media. So going to tell my story and kind of the details that I don't believe I've shared, which, I'm being vague on purpose to build up the anticipation, but by no means is there some big, huge, it's not a sad story by any means. It's a really good story, but I'm excited to tell it. So, I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you guys have awesome plans for the weekend. Last weekend, I was in sunny St. George, which was amazing. Literally sat in the sun for 5 hours on Saturday. It was like 62 degrees and red. Just my dog and I. It was awesome and really propelled me into a great week this week. And, big things this weekend for my sports fans. Go Birds, baby. Big Super Bowl. Big Super Bowl. We got the Eagles and the Chiefs. I'm hyped. I grew up near Philly, as I mentioned before. So I'm a huge Eagles fan. I'm very, very excited for this weekend. So big plans. This weekend, I'm excited for the game. It's going to be a big game. And I've been talking to some of my friends who are also Eagles fans. And it's funny because this is the first game. Phillies fans are notorious for just hating their opponents, right? Being ruthless to their opponents. But Coach Andy Reid, absolute Hall of Fame, legendary coach, of course, was the longtime coach of the Eagles, right? Big Red. And I don't think I've ever not hated an opponent because I love Big Red. He's just an incredible personality, an incredible human being. Any player who's ever played under him has nothing but good things to say about him. He's one of a kind in terms of coaching because he can connect to players. They respect the heck out of him. And, oh, by the way, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. He's led multiple organizations to multiple conference championships, and you name it, he's done it, right? He's got MVPs. And now, am I rooting for the Chiefs? No. Will I be upset if they win? Absolutely, I will be. But I'm very excited because the storylines are incredible, right? And then on top of that, you've got Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, brothers, playing against each other. Jason is the center for the Eagles, and Travis is tight end for the Chiefs. So both offensive players. They have a podcast called the New Heights podcast, which is awesome. They've had their parents on recently, trying to get them to admit who they're rooting for. And both just very unique personalities and just awesome guys. 2 people I would love to share a beer with for sure. So really going to be an awesome game. I know if you're it feels like outside of being an Eagles or Chiefs fan, not really anybody's looking forward to it. But I actually think objectively it's going to be a good game. You have two very good teams. I mean, the Eagles pass rush is the best in the league this year, most sacks in the league. I know that. And all their front four, all in double digit sacks. And then you have, Patrick Mahomes, who it'll be interesting to see how the injury holds up and how he's been able to recover having 2 weeks off. So I'm really excited. Of course, you got Jalen Hurts, who's super underrated, incredible quarterback, and big things coming. So I'm really, really excited for that. Hopefully you guys are going to watch. But the big thing here for the episode that I want to get to, that I've been alluding to, we're going to tell the whole story here. So to start it off, like I said, I don't think I've told my whole story with every detail. So without further ado, here it goes. So we're going to start right out of high school. Graduated high school in Lehigh, class of 2009. Went to Utah State University up in Logan, Utah. Was up there for a year and a half, basically, 3 semesters. Did not like Logan and also was not doing well in school. I wanted to play more than I wanted to attend class, as I know a lot of people can relate to. Got into some academic issues, aka was quite literally put on academic probation, and transferred down, moved back down to Salt Lake City and started going to Salt Lake Community College. Went to Salt Lake Community College for 2 years on and off, didn't go full-time every semester, was also working for the family business, which was a construction company. Didn't end up graduating college. It was not for me. I was not a good student. It was not the style that I like to learn. And I know a lot of people can relate to that as well. More power to you if you push through that and finished, but I never did. So I did not graduate college. Worked for the family business. Always knew that I would, or that I wanted to do my own thing, start my own business. Wasn't sure what that looked like, but always kind of just knew, right? Had big dreams for myself. My mom always teaches, she's like, you better make a lot of money when you grow up because I enjoy the finer things in life. I won't pretend. And, that comes by also knowing the other side, right? I can backpack in tent camp with the best of them, for instance, but this last weekend I rented a camping trailer and did a little glamping at a campground. And, so I've experienced both sides, certainly enjoy the finer things in life. I think a lot of people could probably relate to that, but essentially kind of bounced through careers, didn't enjoy the construction world and the family business. Ended up, like a lot of people, did my stint at a call center, certainly kind of started getting a feel for the sales world. Did 2 different stints in summer sales as well. So got a feel for kind of the entrepreneurship. That was kind of my first introduction to entrepreneurship, because if you're familiar with door-to-door sales, you are straight commission. So you're not getting paid unless you're making sales. And the only way to make sales is to knock doors. And you're really your own boss out there, right? It's up to you. They basically drop you off in your neighborhood, and it's up to you to go knock doors and talk to people. And, there are people who make a killing there. And I did well, especially my second stint when I had a little bit more maturity under my belt, but it still was not for me. It wasn't what I wanted. Not a lot of structure, and I'm not good at selling things I'm not super passionate about. And ironically enough, I'm actually not a super great salesman. I like to lead by example and educate, and then let people decide if they want to sell. So naturally that kind of led me early on to the real estate industry. I discovered it through books, of course, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Also was listening to podcasts, and, through that ended up joining the finance world and worked for E-Trade as a licensed It's more, honestly, it's glorified customer service, but I was licensed. I had my Series 7 and my 63. So I worked my way up through there and up through the corporate ladder, started working with high net worth people, high net worth customers, and they all had real estate in their portfolio in some form or fashion, or would talk about real estate. So the ones who, were open to chat about it, I would pick their brains about their real estate portfolios, what they liked about it. And that really started my foray into the real estate world, and started listening to podcasts, going to local meetups. And, I tried wholesaling, never did a deal, tried to find deals for a little bit, didn't enjoy it. Looked at joining in on some fix and flips, also didn't really enjoy it. The thing about wholesaling and fix and flip, it's very transactional based, right? You've got to continue to do deals in order to make money. And if the deals dry up, or for instance, what's happening right now with the current economy where, let's say you do a flip and it's successful, then the other side of a flip that isn't talked about is you now have to sell this, right? You now have to put it onto the market and sell it. Now, in a hot market like we had for the last few years, that's pretty easy, right? As the supply is super low, it was very easy for people to sell. But what's happening now is the market slowed down, and homes are sitting on the market for 4, 6, 8 weeks at a time now. And as a flipper, when you're holding on to that, that's a liability. That's costing you money. And that didn't appeal to me because I didn't want to have to deal with that issue and kind of overcoming that. So my eyes being fixed on the finer things in life, I want to get right into commercial real estate. Now, I had no idea what that looked like or how to do that. But what ended up happening is I left the finance world because I didn't enjoy the corporate world, joined the fast-paced startup world. And this brings us right into 2019, joined a fast-paced startup, which ended up being a unicorn startup, meaning they hit $1 billion valuation and, ended up getting acquired for $2 billion. Now, before that happened, in the meantime, I was laid off during COVID, got laid off in May of 2020. Now, these are some details that I haven't shared with everyone, so I'll get into those. So I got laid off in May of 2020. A month before that, my grandfather, who started the construction company that I worked for and was my original mentor, an incredible man in his own right, absolute legend. Shout out to Jack Johnson. I know he's looking down and smiling and probably laughing as I tell this story, but he passed away in April of 2020, not from COVID, from some other health issues. And on top of that, had also been dumped really for the first time in my life, which I laugh about now, and I'm sure people will laugh at me, but it really was the first time I'd ever been dumped by someone who I thought I was in love with. And so naturally, between, being dumped, losing my grandfather, and getting laid off, I went into the darkest pit. It was probably one of the darkest moments. I couldn't even get out of bed for like a week. And, I don't tell you this to get sympathy. I just tell it because it's part of the story and is a huge catalyst for kind of following that. So kind of picked myself up there about a month after all of that happened. Now, one part of the story that's very important and that I know I haven't told is my grandmother passed away even a few years before my grandpa. And so he was the last of my mom's parents. And when he passed away, he left a very sizable, a very nice inheritance. I'll be 100% honest. It was very sizable, enough to where if I just got a job and worked and invested it in the next 20, 30 years, that would have grown and been a very nice nest egg to carry into retirement or whatever whatever I wanted, really. It was mine to choose. Now, I went the opposite route. I did invest it. I invested in what I knew at the time. I invested it into the stock market, and the stock market was taking a massive dip because of COVID. So it was a really awesome time to buy. So I got lucky in that timing. Now, the irony and what I'll kind of get to is, had I invested it in real estate, especially commercial real estate, just invested all passively, by this point, it probably conservatively would have doubled, if not close to tripled. And I would be able to live off of cash flow and live a very nice lifestyle without having to really work per se. But what I chose to do instead, I didn't have the choice of real estate investing because I didn't know about it at the time to the capacity I know now. And that's a very important part of the story, because that's kind of my foundation, is the stock market versus commercial real estate. And the reason I say that is because what ended up happening is it did grow. And what I chose to do is I decided to travel. I lived a very nice lifestyle. I won't even sugarcoat it. And I'm extremely blessed and extremely grateful. And I don't want to blast through that and pretend like I wasn't given an incredible opportunity with what I got. And, everyone told me, family, take it, invest it. And I did, but I wanted to enjoy life. I had just come out of a very dark time, and that's exactly what I did. I traveled around the country because it was very affordable to travel with COVID. Ended up in 2021 traveling the world, going to Europe, seeing a part of the world I'd never experienced before, and having experiences that I never had before, and saying yes to experiences that I never said yes to. And what that was leading to was me knowing that I wanted to build something that could allow me to live this life, continuously, and to grow and to eventually build something that I could basically run with a Wi-Fi connection, which would allow me to travel anywhere in the world. And so what I did was I took the money and I played, and then I started coming up with ideas on what I wanted to do. And I knew that I wanted to get in commercial real estate. And in 2021, I found a group here, Greenlight Equity Group. Shout out to Tate and Carl. They're incredible. Still connected with them. Still talk to them, and kind of did some back end stuff for them. Unfortunately, I was very naive at that point and didn't know what I didn't know. But through them, got connected to some books, and that led me to my mentorship group, Raise Masters, which I've talked ad nauseum about here, and how much I absolutely love that group and would not be here without that group. Shout out to Adam and Hunter and all the people at Raise Masters now, Cam, everyone there. Honestly, my best friends now, especially those in the industry, are through Raise Masters and are Raise Masters members. Tate actually joined Raise Masters just recently, which is awesome. It's great to have him in the group. And so through the mentorship, got a really good guidance into what I wanted to do. And from there, started my podcast, what is now the Cash Flow Chronicles. Because I had the time, because I did not have a full-time job, and because I had this money, I decided to go daily. And if you're in the podcast world, you know what that looks like and how much work I took on. And again, didn't know what I didn't know. A lot of work, and also a bigger financial obligation than like a weekly podcast, right? Because you've got to pay someone to do all the production, because I didn't know how to do it and didn't want to do it, especially at that capacity. And that just absolutely propelled me. It's been almost a year. That launched in April of 2022. And it has absolutely done things that I didn't even expect. Now, I expected to, flatten my learning curve, expedite things, and it's done all of those, but it's also given me incredible connections, which are leading to potential strategic partnerships coming up, and all of the things. And Russell Brunson says, if you record a podcast every day for a year, you'll never have to worry about money again. And that is starting to look like it's true. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, how could that be just from recording a podcast? But it's not just recording a podcast every day and putting it out there. There's other things you have to do. And through that, I've realized what I want to build. I want to build something that lasts. And that's why I put my name on the company, Katani Capital Group, because I stand by my name. And while I've been afforded some things in this life that not many people are afforded, which I'm extremely grateful for, I didn't just want to stand by and be another person who got an inheritance and, never really had to worry about money. I wanted to take that and build something. And what ended up happening is through growing the company and the podcast and the stock market going absolutely opposite and taking a massive crash last year, I lost a lot of what I had invested because it was so heavily invested in the stock market. Now, luckily, because I needed to still fund my business and life, I was liquidating and was able to get away with some profits, but ultimately took a loss for the year of 2022. Now, in this time for income, what I've been doing is I've been trading options, and I was trading. If you're familiar with the stock market, options are basically just a derivative of a stock. I won't get into the details, but I was trading options, and it can be very lucrative. But like a lot of trading, as it turned into more and more and started to turn into day trading, it more or less becomes gambling, because in the stock market, there are unforeseen, you can do all of the analysis and planning that you want, and someone can write an article and an analyst can come out and change their outlook on a certain stock and absolutely and turn it upside down, more or less, relatively speaking. I mean, you're not going to see massive, but you might see a 3 to 5% loss in a day. And when you're trading options have an expiration date. And if you're close to the expiration date, that can be massive. And what ended up happening is I took a massive haircut towards the end of 2022. And it hurt. I won't lie. That hurt a lot, but I'm actually extremely grateful for it, because what it did was it forced me to buckle down and forced me to focus in and hone in on what I want to do. And that allowed me to focus in, find a deal. I ended up raising $200,000, just under $200,000 last year, at the end of last year. I've talked about that here. It's for a short-term rental deal, and there'll be other episodes and posts about that as I start to dive into it. Sidebar, today was the first distributions. The first distributions came out this week, so shout out to my investors. I know they're very excited. We're all very excited as the first Q1 distributions came out this year, or this week. But what ended up happening is, I realized that I invested alongside my investors there, and I'm grateful that I was able to save some money to invest there. But outside of that, and what little bit of cash flow comes from that, I haven't had steady income, right? Because I've stopped trading. And so it's forced me to really focus in and find partnerships and things that are going to expedite and really grow, because they say, especially in this industry, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And, all last year, while I had the mentorship, I really focused in on doing things myself. And that was not in hindsight, the best move, but I'm extremely grateful for it, because it allowed me to see how important partnerships are. And that's what 2023's focus is going to be, are my partnerships and growing and switching gears a little bit from the capital side. I will still focus on capital raising, still going to be raising capital, bringing capital to deals, but getting into the acquisition side of things and the active side, what they call the active side, right? The passive side is you invest, someone else runs and operates the asset, and you make money passively. on the active side, you get into the operations and an actual business and building a business, which is what I want to do and why I put my name on it, because I stand by it. And while, again, I was afforded something and given money that I didn't necessarily work for, I didn't want to just stand by, and I'm going to take that and build something with it. And that's what's going to happen this year, is you're going to see and watch firsthand. I'm going to document it as I build and grow a portfolio with partners who know more than me, who end up being more like mentors, and grow a portfolio and build something, and, you know, something that can last. And not only that, but something to help people. I want to really bring and shed light on this industry to my generation, to millennials who are still in the stock market, because that's what we've been taught. And especially now with crypto. And it's not to say that those things aren't good and shouldn't be a part of your portfolio. I'm not going to put them down, but I just think that the stability that real estate provides is really, really powerful and should be a part of your portfolio in some capacity. Now, should it be the majority of your portfolio like mine? That's for you to decide. But my goal is to show you why I think that you should, you know, why you should pay attention to real estate. And if you're, you know, a digital creator, an influencer, a busy professional, you know, you can keep doing those things, stay in your profession. I know a lot of people love what they do. I did not enjoy that, and that's why I left that side of things. But that's not to say that people don't enjoy it. And I know that creators, you know, digital creators who bring us content on all the various social media platforms love doing that too. You can tell their passion, and, you know, it can be very lucrative. But what do you do with that, right? You know, you can put it in the stock market, but nobody's teaching them these things, right? It's a lot like athletes 20 years ago. No one was teaching them what to do with their newfound riches, their newfound, you know, income. Especially if you didn't come from money, you don't know what to do with it. And while I did come from it, I still was also never taught what to do with it. And because of that, was wildly irresponsible with a lot of it. And that's led to this. And it's hard to regret it, because it's forced me to learn financial responsibility. And, you know, I have something to show for it. You know, I have these incredible experiences. I have a house. I have, you know, an awesome investment, and I've got a business and a podcast, and these things that I'm very proud of, that I'm so grateful that I was able to build these things, you know, albeit with, you know, basically, you know, what my grandparents were able to build. And I'm so grateful to them for that, for what they left me, that they were able to leave something for me. And my goal now is to build my own thing and build a legacy like they have, because the company is still around and it's thriving, and I want to build my own thing. And that's my goal. And so what you guys are going to start to see is I've really honed in on what I want to do now and what my goals are for this year. And so you guys are going to see over this year and witness firsthand the trials and tribulations, right? I tried to do some deals last year that went bad, lost some money there as well. That was a loss. So I've learned some valuable lessons, which in this world cost money. And I'm grateful that I had this kind of this fund to draw from in order to learn those lessons and take those haircuts. And here we go. Catani Capital Group 2023. We're going to start building it and building something that I hope more and more people want to be a part of, because I believe in it. I believe in this industry. I believe in this product for so many reasons. And I'm very excited to shed light on this industry to, like I said, specifically the creators and the influencers and the busy millennial professionals out there who, like me, didn't get the financial education. I know none of us really did, to what do we do now that we're high income earners, right? These young creators who all of a sudden are, making, significant income, 6 figures a year, 6 figures a month from their content and are not sure what to do with it. I'm here to tell you there's something you can do that will allow you to continue to be a creator and continue to do what you do well, but, also have something on the side that grows and is real. That's not just what your parents did. It's different from what they did, and, can eventually grow into significant passive income to where you can, eventually cover your expenses or more. They call it financially free. That definition is different to everybody. For some people, it's just covering their expenses every month. To some people, it's completely transitioning from active income to living their whole entire life on passive income. And due to the stability, due to, let's say, the rental income that comes every month from owning an apartment building, you're going to make that, every month, more or less. And that can give you peace of mind. And as a creator and an influencer, it can be hard to find that peace of mind because you have to focus on creating income. You can't also go out and, buy apartment buildings, right? And so that's why we have a symbiotic opportunity here where you can continue to focus on what makes you great. I can continue to focus on what I'm great at, and we can come together and build something together where you can eventually potentially have it take over as your active income, right? That's something that a lot of people do. And oh, by the way, there's tax benefits and, IRS incentives and all of these things that you can do to, decrease your tax liability every year and all of the things that we'll get into. But there it is. That's my story. That's the whole story that I haven't told. And I know this will answer a lot of questions for people who have kind of wondered how I've been able to fund all of these things. And here you have it. That's how I've been able to do it. I'm extremely, extremely blessed, extremely grateful. But, while again, I could have just been a run-of-the-mill person who, got the money and just sat on the sidelines and did my own thing. I decided that I wanted to go experience the world and build something. And you guys are going to get to experience that firsthand as I continue, obviously, to have this daily podcast, as well as more episodes start to transition to more solo episodes and really give you an insider's look on how I'm going to grow what ultimately I hope is a very large real estate portfolio. So there it is. There's my whole story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that answers questions for those that have wondered how I've been funding things and not having a quote unquote W-2 job. There you have it. So thank you guys so much for listening. As always, I'm extremely grateful. You can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Jonny Cattani, where a lot of this will be chopped up and put out there to tell my story for the rest of the world, for those who don't listen to the podcast, as well as more content will start to roll out. Obviously this is where I'm going to tell part of the story, but a lot of it will be told there. So again, at Jonny Cattani, JONNY CATTANI, follow me there. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have an incredible weekend. I leave you with this. Fly, Eagles, fly. See you guys. Thank you again for tuning in. Who do you know that wants more cash flow? Share this episode with them so you can grow your cash flow together. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you're subscribed on your platform of choice so you never miss a new episode. Go to CattaniCapitalGroup.com to learn more.